White guilt.
Let's talk about it.
All right. I feel like we have to talk about old media and newer media, and
Yes.
how, because I do think older media, there was only sometimes certain black films made, or there was so few with real representation. That's why I feel like The Cosby Show is so good, and yet I hate Bill Cosby so much.
Oh, God, right?
So I can't even go back and watch it. But that show was so important because it wasn't a black show.
Right.
It really wasn't. I don't think people thought
Just
of it as
people.
It was just a funny show. And it showed educated black people, like at a time in the 80s where there was just fewer of those kind of shows.
Right.
It was just... And now I feel like finally we're having more of that.
Yep.
But I do feel like the representation was either... And this is not that, like, look up Katy Perry. My son loved Firework, right? So we were watching and that's not that long ago, the music video, and then I'm like, wait, where are all the black people? Wait, the only person of color that I'm watching, I think, is the guy trying to mug the guy. I was
Oh,
like, you
wow.
gotta be freaking kidding me, Katie.
Come on, Katie, you can do better.
I think she has done a little bit better, but I'm like, that's not that long ago. So even
Katie
now.
and I are really close friends. I'm going to talk
All right, will you
about
please
it.
talk to her about
Yeah.
that? But
No, this is true. I mean, this happens not only in TV shows, but probably one of the worst culprits, I think, video games.
see, I don't know enough about that.
You can
Yes,
count-
but I know about women. Like, that's why I don't even... Like, I
Yeah.
hate the way women are portrayed. So I bet...
Yes,
Okay.
it's probably very similar, right? If they're there.
Yes.
This is not it's an incredibly popular game. City Skylines. It's a great game. It's like a Sim City kind of game. There's Sims, people walking around, right? There were, for a very long time, no black Sims. Now, some people would say, oh, they're not really a color. Those are white. No way, we're looking right at them, right? So it's a bunch of white Sims walking around in their city, living their life.
Uh-huh.
The game has all sorts of like things dropped in, mods. Oh, here's a baseball field. You can put this in your city now, and then you can watch every once in a while it cycle through a baseball game. How neat. For a very long time, apparently, there were no black people in the game until they put basketball courts in.
Oh my gosh.
And then they put black people in there playing basketball. Little black Sims running around playing basketball.
Oh,
Now
wow.
they have corrected it. I've seen a bunch of things now, but for a long time, that was just the go-to, right? In any video game where you got to customize your figure, there were 40 shades of white people and then 2 shades of black people. You were either sort of dark or real dark. Like, those were your options. And then you could either get dreads and afro or 40,000 different straight hairstyles, right? And if you're a black woman wanting representation in a video game, probably one hairstyle. Like, that was it, right?
Yeah.
So for a very long time, this was, and it's still sort of an issue. So much so that if there is, and people correct me, I can only think of like 2 games where there was like a black main character. So if you're in a first-person shooter, that hand's walking around with guns, that's a white hand. There's nothing you can do about it, right? There are a few games, very few, that will have a black lead. And some of them get so much crap talked about. I'm like, why games gotta be woke? Because there's a second black person in the thing. Like, that's not really the definition of woke, I think.
Wow, no.
But yeah, so this lack of representation is real, and I think what the excuse a lot of people say is that, oh, yeah, there's not a lot of black developers, so why? Or black people don't play as many games, or women don't play that many games. Like, there's all those things, but we're also seeing that those aren't true.
Yeah.
All those groups are playing games despite not having any representation. You would think that adding it, I have a terrible theory.
Okay, what is it?
Did we talk about Cristal? I don't know why we would have. So.
Yes, you did, but now I've forgotten. You did, though. I remember that.
All about marketing, right? So Cristal, a long time ago, rappers talking about Cristal all day. It's great. And then someone asked one of the representatives of Cristal, because you have so many people in an urban market now talking about it, will you market to them? And they said, oh no, if Moen or any of those other champagne companies want that group, they can have them. And that person was an but someone later came out to say, look, it's true, we don't market to an urban market, but here's why. Our market is, and I think it was wealthy white people with boats. It's like very specific. Monaco's, Miami's, like this tends to be the sort of champagne environment. If we started to market to an urban market, we would lose our elite market, and then when it's no longer elite, then the urban market also won't want it because it's not elite, and then we end up going out of business. Now here's my thinking. Someone has to do something about it, but what I think is happening is that developers in video games, movies, TV shows are saying, yeah, we can have a black lead in this. But if we do, we'll have a bunch of white people that won't go to it, and they'll pick it, and they'll make a big stink about it. And if we don't do that, there'll be a few black people that won't go to it, but they go to stuff anyway, so let's just put a white person in it and then be done with it, right? And so I think that is defense. Now it's still really crappy, right? But I think that's one of the big reasons that a lot of groups are not doing it. So not a lot, some. I think others just don't think of it. It's an afterthought. You put folks in it that you know, or it's easier to put one complexion in a thing, but man, video games today, you can see a pimple on someone's face. Like it's not about ease anymore. Right. So yeah, it's a concern. It's a real concern, and I'm really curious if people are going to really start doing something about it.
The ones that are like ranting and raving and racist, they all also seems like are online a lot and play video games, and maybe it's because
I think they're online a lot. I don't know if they're doing a lot of video games. I think this is
there's a lot of racist shit, though. Like I hear from my female friends that if someone knows there's a female playing a game, like it's bad. It's really bad.
Yes.
Right?
So
I feel like there's a lot of that hate.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and there's a lot of it if you're a black player. So in a lot of these games you can't tell because there's not a black or female representation. So I don't play it, so I don't know, but I'm thinking about there's a lot of the war games and things that people can pop in and play. You're just playing one of the 4 different white faces that there are in the game, right? But sometimes you can change your little avatar that's in the corner to whatever you want. And if it's a female, or you pick the one black avatar out of the 40, then that's how people will know, and people will definitely use that and are not, right? So you do have those flamers. I don't think that they're a large percentage of them, but they're very loud.
Yes,
and so if you're playing in a troop of, a team of 8 people going to assault a thing, and one of them is a total saying things, and the others don't necessarily come to your defense, it's a terrible time. And you only need that to happen a few times before you'll stop playing a game. A lot of the Gamergate stuff was talking about women, not just in video games, but in role playing in particular. Comic book conventions. I could go in with a T-shirt for some obscure thing, and people will go, "Oh my God, you like Wildcats?" But if you do, they're like, "Do you really like? Tell me the two of those characters' names." Like you have to prove yourself that you are actually someone that is in that world, and it's not all of them, but there are a few people that will do it. And of course, now you're like, I don't ever want to go to one of these cons again because I was made to feel other. And you might know everyone. You might know more than the person asking you, but the fact that you have to prove it, them, right? Like it's a real issue. And so I think we see this in a lot of games and culture.
And do you think more, like, I feel like if there's less representation, like, I don't know, like, tell me what you think. Like, so are people being drawn to games because there's no representation, and the representation of women is just sexualized, bimbos, stupid, and I don't know. I don't
think that's why they're drawn. I think some of these games.
But does that affect their brain?
Yeah.
Like, okay, Grand Theft Auto, never seen it, but read about it, whatever. And I know that I've heard that, like, one of the things you can do with your money or whatever is buy a sex worker, have sex with them,
Sure.
and then shoot them,
Yeah.
and then throw them out the window. Like,
Yep.
how does that not change your brain and make you not, like, to feel that women are less than? Like, that's what I'm saying is, like, if we have these representations and races or people or sexes that we can just dispose of
Right.
because they're other than the straight white male in these video games,
Yeah.
how does that not change your, and if you're playing it over and over and over again, like, how does that not make you more racist and make you more full of hate and not let, for you to hate women because you're playing this game that's not real? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, so representation, real representation matters, and I don't know. Maybe.
No,
I
think it matters. Now, there are a lot of studies that talk about the effects of video games, but for the all I know are the effects of violence in video games. I don't know about sexism, racism in video games, but there must be studies. So if anyone knows them, I would love to put them in the comments. I would love to read them. But I know that when they talk about violence in particular, when we talk about mass shootings, school shootings, things like that, it is, I don't know if I would say proven, but it has been sort of alluded to that it is not the violence in video games that bring those things about directly. Now, there are proposals that it could be about the loneliness one feels from playing video games or things like that. But what it isn't, according to things that I've read so far, is that because you're playing, even if you're playing something as terrible as Grand Theft Auto, that's not going to make you go out and say, man, I can just kill anybody and then start doing it. So the correlation seems to not be there. But also, how can it not? Right?
Even if you don't kill someone, like, how can it not then allow your brain to think differently about women?
Right.
Or other races, or whatever.
I think there's a couple parts to it. So I think that, and this is guesswork, right? For something specific like that, I know hiring a sex worker in Grand Theft Auto, not a thing as a 12-year-old I'm just going to go do right tomorrow. That part already a barrier. What I think is probably more dangerous is the idea that not this group of people that you might be able to do something bad to, that is a small percentage, but that the representation of the others aren't there, right? The latest Grand Theft Auto, which I played and loved, 4, correct me if I'm wrong. 5, thank you. Grand Theft Auto 5, the 3 main characters are a sort of rednecky white guy, who is hilarious, a sort of poor street black guy, and then this well-off sort of mafia boss white guy in a suit and a big-ass house, real nice, right? We don't see any other black people in the game that are well-off, and no women in any of those 3, right? So no power at all, right? Yep. So it's not necessarily like, oh, in Grand Theft Auto you can just do whatever you want to women. It's that there's also no answer back about it, right? There are no powerful women that you get to see. So any women playing this game, particularly young girls, there's no male sex workers that they can grab, sleep in the car with, and then shoot them, throw them out the window, right?
How would you even think to develop that? I'm just like, the person that developed that, man, if I could get him in a room, destroy him.
Right? Hey,
yes.
If you were the person that put that in the game, write in the comments, and we would like to have you
I'll come find you.
So I think a lot of it comes down to the lack of representation.
And I like the fact that the only black person is a poor street black person,
right?
And that is the stereotype. That was the stereotype in Katy Perry's music video. Like, that is the stereotype. Still in so many things. I do feel like it's changing. It's changing,
but it's changing very slowly.
And video games are way behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's changing a little faster for blacks and African Americans than it is for women, particularly in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
And we see it, and it's crappy, and it's interesting because on the other side of it, when you can make a character, like when you can change the way they look, a lot of men are playing female characters. A lot of them. It's a very high percentage.
See, so
actually.
make more women. That's cool.
The difference is, I think, I could be wrong. If you like playing female characters, let me know. It's that in a lot of those games, we're just following the female character from behind, and I think they just want to see that because nobody wants to look at some
could be
muscly dudes, I guess. But I would like to know why as well. I'm a role player. I have played a female character, but that was all in my head, so it was just fun for me. But it wasn't like, I just get to look at her all day. It just really didn't work out that way. So, I'm fascinated to hear why people would want to play a female character, but not let females in their game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're even the same people or not, right?
Yeah.
This could be two whole different groups of people.
Yeah.
40% of people like playing a female character, and none of them would have a problem with a woman in the game. That could be, I don't know.
Yeah.
But those two things do exist together.
Right. Doc McStuffins is on PBS, but it was created, so it's animated, but it's basically this little girl. Her mom's a doctor. You rarely see the parents, but her mom's a doctor, and so she's only like 5, but she's a doctor to all her stuffed animals. But the idea is representation, like for little girls and for African American girls to see themselves as doctors.
Right.